Hello, my friends. Welcome to the PMP Exam Radio Show. It's a shout out to our rock stars this weekend. Want to give a shout out to Crystal, who got certified some days back, to Nicole, who got certified and recently gave us our lessons learned. A shout out to Mary, who got certified recently and gave us lessons learned too. And all of our other friends who have gotten certified in the past month. You might have heard from some of them, Stan, Gannett, Bassie. They've all come back to give lessons learned. Crystal recently got certified, and her feedback was that the exam was an even mix of agile, predictive, and hybrid, and ITTOs were pretty non-existent. There were instances where the talk of these ITTOs came into the question, but nothing so big that you should be worried about ITTOs. Definitely be aware of what you should do first as a project manager in any part of the project. You should know when you're in initiating, when you're in planning, when you're in executing, when you're in monitoring and controlling, when you're closing, because that is the flow of how work typically proceeds, typically, right? I asked how many hours the exam took for Crystal, and Crystal said it took the entire time, about 4 hours. Some of the questions were wordy and took a long time to process. I submitted the exam with about 26 seconds remaining. At the 5-minute remaining mark, I think I had about 20 questions left. Think about that for a second, my friends. 5 minutes to the end of the exam, and you have 20 questions left. So Crystal began speed reading and quickly selecting answers to get through all of the questions. And honestly, that's what you should do. If you got limited time and you got all these questions, my recommendation is to answer every single one, even if you guess, just do it. Another student of mine way back said, I had all these questions and I just looked at the answers and chose the most sensible answer without reading the questions, and she passed. I asked if Crystal took a break, and she said, yes, I took a break. I was given two 10-minute breaks. I know I wasn't gone too long on the first break. I took a very quick restroom break, a sip of water, went straight back to the exam. However, when I got back, it felt like the timer didn't stop while I was away. So I skipped the second break. I did not feel the need for the break anyway. I did have to get reprocessed back into the room through security after my break, which I was expecting, and why I was so quick on my break. Now, for those of you who are planning for your exam, really do practice the art of breaks, because taking breaks, it does refresh you. It does help you. Even though you think, I don't need a break, you will do well with a break. I've seen this time and time again, even in my exams. My most recent exam with the PMI, I took three breaks, three breaks, and it helped. It always helps. And the reason why I recommend taking a break, it's like a reset, a recharge. Sometimes it's just that little reset that helps you come back even more powerful than before. I asked specifically about the PMBOK Guide 7th edition, and most people have told me that they didn't really get a boatload of stuff that was even remotely related to the 7th edition, remotely, And what I typically recommend to people is watch my videos on YouTube about the 7th edition of the PMBOK Guide, but don't obsess over reading it because the gains are going to be very small. And that's exactly what Crystal says. Crystal says, I watch a lot of your YouTube videos, a lot of them, and I did not recognize anything from the 7th edition. So she did know what the 7th edition was all about, but there wasn't anything specifically from there. The thing about my training, though, I train people on general project management that cuts across all PMBOK Guide editions. I also train the principles of the 7th edition, and I bake that in all throughout that whole narrative. So Crystal probably picked on those along the way. When I asked about the principles specifically, were they on the test? Yes, they are on the test implicitly. They're baked in, just like I said. And everything I needed to pass the exam, she said, I got from the Scrum Guide, the Agile Practice Guide, the PMBOK 6th edition, rounded out with, of course, the Praizion training and YouTube videos. I do recall there have been a lot of questions focused around the customer and the team. So, Crystal, huge shout out to you. Thank you for coming back and sharing your lessons learned. It's always a pleasure to hear from our students who aced the exam. I also want to give a massive shout out today to another of our friends here on the PMP Exam Radio Show specifically, who listens to us on Spotify. Rachel, thank you very much for your email and for sharing your experience on the exam. So even though Rachel was not in one of our live courses, she found our program on Spotify, the PMP Exam Radio Show. And you do know that in addition to Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's on Podcast Addict, it's everywhere. It's on Google, So Rachel started following me on Spotify and YouTube all day long, multiple times a day, told her friends and family about Phil, and I appreciate it. And I'm glad that now that you're certified, hey, Rachel, go look for my other podcast, Life After the PMP Exam. You'll find that to be inspiring and useful now that you're PMP. So thank you for doing that. And Rachel says, I just wanted to share the happy news that today I passed my PMP exam. And while I know I did study very hard and diligently, I believe I would not have been in as good of a position if I hadn't found Phil. So thank you for the kind words, Rachel. Rachel says, I think Phil and the way he relays information from the PMBOK guide and agile training really clicked with me. I finally started to understand material from watching Phil. I'm elated and so thankful. And that's a reminder to those of you who are not yet watching the videos. Go onto the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's a boatload of videos. There's over 2,000 videos on that channel. And the more you sink your teeth into those videos, the more confident you'll be. There are many different ways you can learn for the PMP exam, but some folks who learn more from video and audio, they do really great when they listen to this channel, just like Rachel is sharing here. And Rachel said, I started finally to understand the material from watching Phil. And I'm so elated, so thankful. I watched so many of your lessons learned videos. I'd be more than happy and honored to be a feature if you ever feature non-students. Thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate you sharing this. And Rachel says, I'm going to tell people that they need to look no further and take your masterclass. So thank you very much. I really appreciate this. And to everyone else, share the word about the channel, put on social media. And even after you get certified, you do know that there is another podcast, Life After the PMP Exam, because it's one thing to get certified. The next thing is to blow it up after you get certified. Go to the next level. Dominate the space of project management, right? With your team, with your company, do great things, max out agile, max out hybrid, max out predictive as you need to, as the special situation demands. That's what getting certified is all about, okay? Thank you so much for joining me today on these shout outs. I wish you all the very best, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye for now.